We started updating champions because we started to see this really big difference between the stuff we're really proud of releasing and then stuff that we probably could have done a little better when we released it. Irelii is kind of an unusual choice as far as that goes.
She can do everything, but she doesn't really excel in all those things.
Everybody would be a little bit nervous hearing that like a champion that they really like to play is getting like a massive update.
She has a very strong fantasy that's resonated with a lot of our players, but her gameplay has generally been lacking in actually delivering on that fantasy for one.
It's not fulfilling the fantasy of multiple blades flying at you or multiple blades or dancing at you.
If we can really nail the Blade Dancer fantasy, we can make her one of the coolest champions in the league.
As it stands, there's like 3 spells that are basically, we can call it basically locked, although I'll probably like still tinker with it a little bit. From there on, we're trying to find the W and an ultimate.
One of the most important aspects of Irelii to players, let's focus on that. And then one of the riskiest or least certain aspects of Irelii to us. Let's also focus on that.
Cool.
More often than not, it actually takes a few months to really get to the point where we feel like we have a kit that's trending in a good direction.
The Star Spell is actually a pretty cool spell. The main questions I have about it are just like, is this right for Irelii, right? It's like a heavy duty like support ult. Are we turning her into something that she's not?
Irelii's Q has always been like her defining spell. It is like probably the spell that players play the character for.
The first pattern we hit for Irelii was through her passive, her Q, and her E. When we have that, we've learned a lot about what the character is and probably should be, and then we validate that with player labs.
We have Player Lab on Tuesday. I think it'd be really, really good if we can get at least like a fairly indicative version for both.
I think so, yeah.
Into a good spot by Tuesday night.
Player Labs is Riot's opportunity to test out our content with players, like not internally, not with our development teams, but with actual real players.
So we have been looking for people who either currently play Irelii and like her, or people who play top lane skirmishers or similar characters and like those as well.
I think with Player Labs, you're always a little nervous to see how people respond.
I would just jump in, I'd get a huge free trade on him, but I had no way of sticking on him.
When I use the W, it kind of like kills the momentum.
It doesn't really feel like it's a part of her.
Get more than one competing idea for what she could be doing in W. Like get your top 3, and then you can poll people and be like, is it cool if she's shaping the battlefield? Is it cool if she's nullifying the spells? Is it cool if she's stopping, saving? You know what I mean? Get a couple, and then we can just sort of judge them.
I worry a little about the character's impact to the game being relatively similar to a lot of other people. I'm basically looking for things that Irelii can do that other characters basically cannot.
It cannot be overstated how important it is to take time. What we have are a small group of players that can play Irelii over and over and over again. The earlier we can get kit lock, the more time we can give them to just play the character, and with the goal that over time we will actually hone in on the character's overall balance to be as close to a good balanced character as possible.
The current version is more diver than skirmisher.
The lane test was a bit rough. I didn't see the point of even testing it. Like I had Triforce and 2 levels up and I still lost the fight.
I like the concept of the anti-poke niche, but the reward for it doesn't actually feel that high.
Sounds like what I would probably go from here is basically try lowering her in the R output a little, and then putting some power of that into W. The R feels it's getting decently close at this point, and then you try the W, which was really cool, but to me it's like hitting too high on the execution bar, as in like the character's getting too hard to play.
We have kit lock, so new and old Irelii players will love her.
As you would have probably imagined, we don't have hip kit lock, so let's put that back to like an in progress, unfortunately. I will probably still need I'd assume about like a week to finalize it out.
there's always some sort of sequence that has to run through the project. Animation, to some degree, always has to follow when we can get the model rigged. VFX often has to follow timing from animation. So by the time when we were in January and production was starting to finish, sound effects still had a lot of work that they had to get through.
I could do first pass on the kit in like 2 days. So I'm kind of at a spot where like I need to wait for people and I don't know how to be useful.
Anyone else feel like they were blocked or somehow like not empowered to work on it?
Irelia carries you is like a really notable Irelia main in the community, and we want to specifically invite him into playtest.
Am I doing like a doom?
Oh, the hard read. Oh, no.
I fucking hard. Okay, we got that on.
Even though the stun wasn't the same, I still felt like, oh yeah, it's still there, and I can still set up the same stuff that I used to set up before. But at the same time, I'm not like reliant on always having my flash up if I want to do the same thing.
Getting his read on it at that point was really, really helpful. Being able to say like, hey, these are some of the things that we want to hold true. What do you think?
Overall, Kit seems to be doing pretty well. Not gonna hate us for this rework.
No, I don't think so. I think it's in the right direction.
Just like seeing the smile on his face, listening to him talk about it, that's when I knew I was like, we can polish things up, but we're set.
Oh no! No! Why did you do that? We got kit lock.
Difficult journey.
Has anybody played with the W yet?
I went 15-1 in the audio playtest.
Jesus.
Music and Splash come at the end of the pipeline, and they're going right up until the release.
So, as Irelia is about to launch, and players are gonna start seeing her, I hope they look at her as the actual embodiment of the fantasy that was promised to them so long ago.
There's always that little bit being a developer where you work so closely with this project for so long. Maybe we're gonna be surprised. Maybe we missed something.
I hope that players sincerely love Irelia, and I hope that they perceive her to be still true to all the core elements of Irelia that they loved before she was remade.